think it's about time we address the elephant in the room. The Nintendo Switch eShop isn't that great.
Sure, it works perfectly fine as a digital storefront. But have you ever actually seen the types of games they're selling on there? Well, I can't say I didn't expect this.
About 90% of the games on the Switch eShop are exactly that. Shovelware. Games made on the cheap, marketed specifically towards consumers who don't know any better. So, naturally, I had to buy some. I've got 10 games I'm gonna be trying out today, all different genres, and that's really all you need to know. So, without further ado, let's see which of these games are bad and which of them are freaking dreadful.
First up is Bowling Fever. This is your typical bowling game, and by typical, I mean completely impractical. First impressions mean everything when playing a game for the first time, and I already don't like the fact that you have to use the L and R buttons to navigate through these menus.
Oh, if only there were a joystick on this controller I could use instead of having to press the shoulder buttons. Like this one!
There's a couple of different modes to try, including single player, practice mode, and a tournament. That might seem like a lot, but they're all just variations of the same thing, and they get old pretty fast. The controls, on the other hand, feel just alright. You have to aim each roll with the joystick, while also timing them out based on this power meter. So basically, you have to focus on two different things at once, and it's just a lot more complicated than it needs to be. Thankfully, you're able to turn the ball once it starts rolling, otherwise this would be insufferable. But can we talk for a second about the different bowling alleys available? Playground, village, scary room?
Ah yes, scary room. My favorite place to go bowling.
There's also a challenge mode, which is fine. And there's achievements you can complete in order to earn goodies via the in-game shop. I got the patriotic ball.
For America!
Overall, Bowling Fever is an average game at best. There's nothing all too great about it, but it's inoffensive to own, so I guess that's a plus. Next up is Dino Race, Dinosaur Ride Ranch. Now, I don't know about you, but the idea of a dinosaur-themed racing game seemed really cool to me. But after an immediate jump into gameplay... Oh no. Oh no!
Are you kidding me? Is the game actually that slow?
Unfortunately, what you're looking at is the main bulk of the game. You play on a variety of questionable looking dinosaurs and race along a selection of prehistoric themed tracks. Although I don't know if I'd call this racing, because everyone moves so slowly! I thought that maybe the game would get faster as I unlocked more dinosaurs, but no! They all move at the exact same pace! In fact, there's literally no differences between the different dinosaurs aside from their aesthetics!
Dinosaur race? More like dinosaur rest. Seriously, I think it would have been more fun if you rode on sloths instead!
Besides having to get first place, you also have to collect free stars that spawn on the track during each race. So in a weird way, it's kind of like Diddy Kong Racing. However, there's no noise or any sort of visual indicator that says that you've collected it. You just sort of pass through it. And that's it. Also, I love how abrupt the game is whenever you finish a race. Well, at least it's efficient.
I think that's enough of that for today. So now, let's move on to something a bit more mature.
Our next game in line is Call of Honor Duty of Warfare.
Hold up, I feel like I've heard that name somewhere before. Call of Duty... I've got it! Halo!
This is essentially a Call of Duty knockoff, and it couldn't be any more obvious. There's 5 different maps to play on, and about a dozen or so weapons to try out, which all seems fairly promising. But then I actually played it, and... this game controls like ass! There's no run button as far as I'm aware, so the whole time you're just stuck shuffling around! And trying to turn is even worse! It takes like 5 seconds just to do a 180, and by the time you're facing the way you want to be facing, you're dead! The AI in this game are so broken! They're able to headshot you from all the way across the map, and there's nothing you can do about it! Look at how fast my health is depleting here! I'm not even out in the open or anything, yet I still die almost instantly! And the worst part is, this all could have been avoided if they just had a damn run button!
This is probably a good time to say I don't like this game very much.
This is by far one of the worst controlling games I've ever played. It had potential to at the very least be a competent first-person shooter. But sadly, that's not the timeline we live in. Let's regain our sanity with Forklift Simulator 2024. Now this is more like it. Just a calm simulation game with a simple objective, relaxing gameplay, and absolutely no issues whatsoever. This game's bad.
No.
Now I didn't have time to get forklift certified in time for this video, so don't quote me on this, but forklifts are severely overrated. The controls here are downright atrocious. Everything from moving the fork to turning the camera to simply accelerating is near impossible due to the fragmented control scheme. And I know I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but I swear literally all of the games so far have had this problem. Anyways, John Stamos wants us to move these pallets. But they're all located throughout this really narrow hallway, and the camera just isn't having it. Long story short, I couldn't do it. So, I made up my own game where I see how long I can go without crashing into anything.
I bet you can't say you did that today.
Alright, back to the task at hand, and hey, I actually got one! Maybe I have what it takes to be a forklift driver after all! I got stuck. All in a day's work.
Well, I don't think I'll ever be playing that game again, but how about a game that's a tad more spooky?
This is The Street 10, a horror game that just starts. There's no title screen or anything, you're just immediately in the game.
That's gotta be one of the scariest things I've ever seen!
Well, this is an interesting premise. You're located on what is presumably Street 10, and there really isn't all too much to see, aside from a few buildings and a lone pedestrian. However, the street loops over and over, so you're always passing by the same things. The same structures, the same street signs, the same person, everything! Nothing ever changes, it always stays exactly the same. But after a while, I started to notice a few things, like this guy. Once he was a little bit taller, another time he had something in his mouth, and hey, was he always black before? Little by little, the differences started setting in, and everything began to make a lot more sense. I kept waiting for a jump scare, or really anything frightening to happen, but 30 minutes in, I was starting to lose hope. That was until I glitched myself into this other secret area. It wasn't scary or anything, I just thought that was cool. So yeah, while I wouldn't necessarily call this a horror game, it definitely has some psychedelic imagery behind it. I legit thought I was going crazy at first because the changes seemed so minuscule. So I guess that's one thing this game has over all the other ones. Too bad it doesn't seem like there's any sort of ending though. I really would have benefited from some closure.
This game unfortunately didn't give me the goosebumps I was hoping for. So, hopefully whatever comes next is able to elicit some sort of reaction from my body.
This is Hentai Golf. For all of you out there that thought, damn, golf isn't sexy enough, it needs more ass! Well, you're welcome. I didn't have the highest expectations going into this one, but you know what? This game is actually pretty fun. While the graphics are incredibly simple, and the gameplay isn't all that in-depth, for what it's worth, it's surprisingly really enjoyable. The controls feel good, there's a large assortment of clubs, and there's dozens of holes to play on. I'd say out of all the games I've tried so far, this one is easily the one I had the most fun with. So the golf portion of the package seems to check out, but what about the hentai part?
Yeah, what about it?
Well, I don't mean to brag, but this game's got bland pictures of anime women whenever you complete a hole. The more holes you clear, the more clothes are removed in the next photo. It works, but it seems like the bare minimum for a game with this lewd of a title.
Oh man, she took off her suspenders! That's the sexiest thing a woman can do!
Considering how raunchy this game advertised itself as, I was expecting to see a little bit more of this during actual gameplay. I suppose it's not that big of a deal, but it just makes me wonder who the target demographic for this game is.
Oh, right. Me.
After that is Cat's Cosmic Atlas. Based on the images shown on this game's eShop listing, I assumed that this was some sort of cat-themed 2D platformer. But no, it's actually an educational game. Basically, you're a cat going around finding constellations throughout extremely elongated levels. Like seriously, I played one of them for like 15 minutes, and at no point did it ever come close to ending. That wouldn't be so bad if it weren't for the fact that this isn't really much of a game. Almost everything you do is a telegraphed action, which makes it practically impossible to lose! Like here, where I'm jumping up these clouds. It's all automated, so I couldn't even mess up if I tried.
Oh, wait a minute. You can make a mistake, and it's buying this game in the first place!
There's also this other mode where you can fly around and read trivia facts on all the planets in our solar system. Did you know that Earth is covered with more than 70% water? Did you also know this game is bad? If I was a young kid who wanted to learn more about astrology, I could definitely see this as being a good option. But for everyone else, while the cats may be cute, they certainly aren't enough to save this glorified encyclopedia.
But maybe games about little old house cats aren't really your thing. Maybe you like your felines a little bigger.
Lion Simulator Survival RPG Animal Simulator, anyone? This is the game I was most excited to try. I mean, with a title like that, you know it's going to be terrible. So you play as this lion who has to complete a bunch of tasks for the Pride Lighter. Not leader, lighter.
Shoot, I guess that word's copyrighted.
My first mission is to go out and hunt some gazelle. Good thing there's a whole herd of them like 10 feet from the lion den. Now it's time to fight, and oh, these controls are horrible! The only form of attacking is this claw swipe thing, except that it only works when you're standing directly next to an enemy! Otherwise, you'll just start growling, because for some reason, both actions are mapped to the exact same button! And running, oh, don't even get me started on running! The only way to do so is by holding down the L button, which not only feels awkward on my hand, but it drains your stamina so quickly! Sure, it doesn't take long for it to come back, but whenever you're not running, you move so slow to the point where it feels like you're not even going anywhere! How did they mess up the controls so bad? Were they even trying when making this game? Jeez! So I end up killing all of the gazelles, but Daddy Lionleg says he's tired of listening to the squeals of wild boars.
Do something about it!
These boars don't stand a chance, and now my new objective is to go kill more gazelle. This is normal, this is normal, this is normal. Afterwards, I'm supposed to go kill some wildebeest. No reason, just do it. But I'm a lion with a conscience, damn it! So I said screw it and ran away towards the desert. Now this is more like it. Okay, we're done here.
Oh, these games are horrible. How can things possibly get any worse?
Notes plus stickers definitive edition. It's a note-taking application with, get this, stickers. It works, but literally anything would be better than using the Switch's clunky keyboard. At least it's good for writing out all your important documentation.
Yeah, hold on, I'm writing my will.
Hey, wait a minute. I'm done!
So this is how Neil Armstrong felt when he landed on the moon. My takeaway from all of this is that these games were all pretty bad. Bowling Fever and Hentai Golf were okay, but everything else is probably worth missing out on. Still, I think it's important to see the other side of things from time to time. I mean, there's a whole world of bad games out there that most people don't even know about, let alone play. And while I can't say I enjoyed my time with these games, I'm still really happy I did this. Hopefully, with the money I spent, these developers will be able to learn the error of their ways, so that way, they'll be able to make even better games for us in the future. Except for the people that made Foot Clinic Fishy Edition, because I can already do that at home.